Check. All right. Good morning. What's up, man? It's another day. I'm up, and yeah, man. I just want to get into this and keep going. Yesterday, I was supposed to jump right back, but I never did. But right now, let's just go, man. Okay. So yesterday we were doing for loops. All right. We actually did a while loop, and maybe how can I start this session today? Just preface that it's important for me to be doing this every single day, and so that's exactly what I'm doing it every single day. I start by looking at some of the notes that I have. This was control flow. I wonder if this is H1. Maybe this is should be a little bit bigger. So I started working on control flow yesterday, and so this is like revision for me. I think I'm a bit slow, and it's now getting to be a concern for me. Right now, I feel like I should be well over arrays in my revision, but I'm still back here at for loops. So hopefully, if we can do it really quickly today, um, you know, we could be able to get this party started. This is another thing I saw. So I was on W3 Resource, this website, and it has a bunch of, say, like questions, and when you have questions like problems, JavaScript problems, you are able to, it gives you the solution, but also this idea really blew my mind. It gives you a flowchart of the logic that JavaScript went through to give you the answer. And I thought it would probably be good also for me to start understanding how to think about this logic, even especially right now while I'm in the beginning phases. So maybe when I come back to start working on this, I would like to have two things. One, I would like to have to write down the steps that I'm gonna take to execute, and then to think through the logic, and hopefully that'll be good. All right, so now that we finished um, thinking about while and do loops, we're going to think about for loops. Okay, so for loops, and I wish sorry, let's just revise this real quick and then maybe do a bunch of exercises today. If everything works out, we're just going to do a bunch of loop exercises. Many loops follow the pattern shown in the while examples. So first, a counter binding is created to track the progress of the loop. Then comes a while loop, usually with a test expression that checks whether the counter has reached its end value. At the end of the loop body, the counter is updated to track progress. Because this pattern is so common, JavaScript and similar languages provide a slightly shorter and more comprehensive form, the for loop. So this is a shorter and a slightly more comprehensive way to write and do a while loop. I mean, I never knew. Wow. So the idea is now again we are building on the abstraction. So instead of saying while, we're going to use for instead. Right? Okay. So this is how it looks like. For let number be 0, number is less than 12, number is equals to number plus 2. This is like the while loop that we have console.log number. Alright, and it's going to have it in one sentence. So let's think about that. For All right, number so yeah, immediately after the for loop you're supposed to you're not defining a variable. I think this is how it looks like. It's 4, and then you're also going to pass this code here. So here is the logic for number is equals to 0, and then number is let's loop with 12 is let's say less than 12. Okay, less than 12 number equals number plus 1, and then here we want to say console log number. So let's run this and see what happens. It has looped every single number from 0 to 11. Okay, so this is the for loop. How would have the while loop looked like? So this is how the while loop would have looked like. So it could have been clear. Let okay let number be 0. They would say while number is less than 12. Are we going to run this inside? Yeah, we have to run this logic, this argument inside this while. Console.log number, but number equals number plus 1. Let's try and run this. It has done the same thing. So the for loop, if we could write here what we just did as a the for loop, how can I say, abstracts or compresses the while loop, compresses the syntax of the while loop such that it is for number is equals to 0, number is less than 12, number is equals to number plus 1. Console.log number. And I think now when you run this, it will do the same thing that has done this. And I think what I remember learning, you could also say it for number, okay, for number equals 0. I need to work on my typing. Number is less than 12. Number plus plus. And I think this plus plus was the console.log number. And just so that we can also test it, let's clear here and the while. Let's copy paste this into the while loop. So let's take this now out and Command C, Command V. Oh, it can't be. All right. So let's just write it here. Command V. Then let's run. Syntax error. What has broken? So I don't know what broke. Or number is equals to 0. Number less than 12. Number plus plus. Or maybe it doesn't know that plus plus. Equals to, let's just try the old one. Console.log number. Okay, so let's see, where have I gone wrong? Okay, fine, I did not define, that's the thing, I did not define a binding. How can I still miss this? For let, now I have defined my binding. Let's run this. Clear. Command Z. Command Z. Run. Oh, you see here I was console.logging number, but I haven't actually defined it. But I think this is the same thing I've written. For let number be 0. For, that means start a for loop. Let number be equal to 0, but number is less than 12. Number is equals to number plus 1. Did I make any syntax mistake? Clear, run. A. So let's copy this. Just a good reminder that like it takes a little bit of practice. So let me compare. 4 4. Let number equals 0 0 semicolon semicolon number less than or equal to 12, less than 12. Let me also just have less than 12. Number equals number plus 1. Console.log number. Console.log number. Let's delete this and let's run this. So maybe it's broken because of the comments. Maybe it broke because of the comments. So an important thing that I've learned is that a for loop has to first inside it declare a variable. A for loop, it has got to declare a variable before the iteration. So let's paste this code in here. So this is a for loop. This program is exactly equivalent to the earlier even number printing example. The only change is that all the statements that are related to the state of the loop are grouped together after the for. Right? So the while loop was one sentence after another. While this is the boolean and then the arguments inside it. But the for loop, everything comes in one line. And that's actually something that I'm just coming to even to understand right now when I'm redoing these examples. So that was good to know. Most code editor programs, including the one in this book, will help by automatically indenting. No, that's a different one. So breaking out of a loop. Oh yeah, so the parenthesis after for keyword must contain 2 semicolons. Must contain 2 semicolons. So I think this is a powerful statement that I need to just cram it. So the parenthesis after the keyword must contain 2 semicolons, and let me just highlight this. If Notion will accept, highlight this with yellow. The part before, let me have this as a new statement. The part before the first semicolon initializes a loop, usually by defining a binding. You see, by defining a binding. The second part of the expression that checks whether the loop must continue, that's our boolean. The final part updates the state of the loop after every iteration. In most cases, this is shorter and clearer than a while construct. This is a whole different statement. So this is, let me turn this into something like a checklist, maybe like a to-do list, Okay, so that's a for loop for you, bro. We're going to, now with this knowledge, we're going to do some exercises later on. Breaking out of a loop. Having the looping condition produce false is not the only way a loop can finish. There's a special statement called break that has the effect of immediately jumping out of the enclosing loop. This program illustrates the break that has the effect immediately of jumping out of the enclosing loop. program illustrates the break statement. It finds the first number that is both greater than or equal to 20 and divisible by 7. Okay, so for let current be 20. And then current is equals to current plus 1. If current remainder 7, I had how to call the remainder in JavaScript. I had some how can you say it? How can you say it? How can you say it? Okay, let's see what this operator is called. This is the remainder operator. Modulars. Yes, that's what I had some tutorial guys say yesterday, or what I know like from our Kenyan system, remainder. So modulars. So for let current be 20, we've already defined. So this is usually, so this has taken idea 1 and 2 combined together, because we could have defined let current be 0 and then current be, but now what's the point of repeating it? Okay, so let current be 20, then current equals current plus 1. Then if current divide by 7, remainder 7 is equals to 0, console.log current, and then break. And 21. So using the remainder operator, it's an easy way to test whether the number is divisible by another number. If it is, the remainder of the division is 0. Okay, the 4, right, and so I think this is also like a very important information and like a logic to start having in, you know, so using the remainder operator is an easy way to test whether the number is divisible by another number. If it is, the remainder of the division is 0. How would this look like? For example, clear. Let's say um, how can I say it? I don't know how to say it. I wanted to test whether 3 is divided by 14 is equal to, I don't know how to say it. Is equals to like 12 remainder 2, but I don't know how to say it. Okay, so let's say maybe I need to do it in the console. More tools, dev tools. So that 14 divided by 3 equals to um, 3 remainder remainder 2. I don't know, I thought you would say true. How do you write division? Division By the okay, so let's put it in brackets just so that we can test. So bracket 14 divided by 3 is equals to 3 minus 2. Will it say true? No, it won't say true. I don't know, so I really don't know how to use modulus then. But we know that is an easy way to test whether a number is divisible by another number. If it is, the remainder of the division is 0. So in this code, they've said for let current be equals to 20, then current, so the iteration will be plus 1, plus 1, and then if, so let's, if, what did I say here? Also this has to be inside this argument, and then this has to be inside this argument, then you break. And so like that's a thing that you start seeing in JavaScript, that arguments inside other arguments inside other arguments. So of course I knew that a for loop, I don't know why I wrote it, a for loop has to have this place for arguments. So the if would come inside. If this other if would be a whole totally different if. So if, and what is the logic? Also, this one has to follow the same structure. If current remainder 7 is 0, seven console.log, what do you want to log? Current, then break. Interesting. I think you have to close it, right? Yeah, you have to close it. Break. Let's see. Yesterday I watched this tutorial on YouTube. This guy wasn't putting semicolons, and as a newbie JavaScript like beginner, that info just triggered me so much. Let's run this. Ooh, what did I do wrong? Is it this? Interesting. So let me just delete this. Clear. Let's find out if this program actually works. And then we're going to find out why mine broke just a few minutes ago. It's very interesting for me to see just how it just keeps breaking around. Get me 21. So what did I do wrong? I wish I just so for excuse me. Let current equals to 20. Okay, current is equals to current plus 1. if um, 7 remained of what? Current remained a 7, bruh. I thought you remember these things. If current, oh, okay. Reminder. Maybe I should put a space. 7 goes to 0. Should I close it with a semicolon? No. Console. Log. How do you want to log to a console? Current. Otherwise, break. Then run this. Then this is where my mistake is at. Okay, cool. So look at this. It has to have 2 semicolons. Interesting. Very interesting. 1, 2. But this other one is blank. Ha. That's just such a syntax thing that I have to keep at the top of mind that I didn't even actually notice. You know, that must contain 2 semicolons. Like, bruh, right? Right, that's. Mhm. Using the remainder operator is an easy way, the modulus remainder operator is an easy way to test whether a number divisible by another number. If it is, the remainder of the division is 0. The for construct in the example does not have the part that checks for the end of the loop. This means the loop will never stop unless the break statement is inside is executed. Interesting. So you see how other statements have in here, they have, for example, but current is, say, less than 30 or something. If we have this, we have our boolean statement that tells us when our loop stops. But when it doesn't, we don't have one, we need to have a break when it reaches wherever we ask it to. And that's also a good thing to also learn. It's like I'm learning these things again. Like when I read it, it's just like I don't know if I understood. Alright, so if you are to remove the break statement or you accidentally write an end condition that always produces true, your program would get stuck in an infinite loop. A program stuck in an infinite loop will never finish running, which is usually a bad thing. If you create an infinite loop, The examples on these pages should usually be asked whether you want to stop the script after a few seconds. If that fails, you'll have to close the tab that you're working in. Or in some browsers, the whole browser to recover. Yeah, actually I got stuck in this thing 2 weeks ago, a week ago. The continue keyword is similar to break in that it influences the progress of a loop. When continue is encountered in a loop body, control jumps out of the body and continues within the loop's next iteration. So updating bindings succinctly. So and then as you can see now again, I think what we're going to learn here is the more we understand these like basic concepts, we're going to learn being succinct and reducing the number of code that we write. And you'll see, so for example, counter is equals to counter plus 1. This is going to be counter is plus or equals to 1, all right? Or counter plus plus, I guess. Well, let's yeah, this is it. So counter is equals to counter plus 1. JavaScript provides a shortcut for this. You could say counter plus equals to 1. You remove this, the word counter. Plus equals to 1. Similar shortcuts for many other operators, such as result times 2 equals 2 to double result or counter, or minus equals 1 to count downward. This allows us to shorten our counting. For example, a little more. This is a shorter one now. For let number be 0. This is our condition. A number is less than 12. Number plus or equals to 2. Console.log number. For the counter plus or equals to 1, the counter minus or equals to 1, the even short equivalence to this is counter plus plus or counter minus minus. Oh, so this is called indenting code, updating binding succinctly. I think this is important. How do you write succinctly? Do I know English? Succinct. Succinct. Succinctly. JavaScript provides a way to write code more succinctly. For when you have to write counter equals counter plus 1, you can write counter is it plus or equals? Yeah, 1. Or counter plus equals 2. But when it is only adding 1, e.g. counter equals counter plus 1 and counter plus equals 1, you can shorten it even further by writing counter plus plus. And as we discover more, we're going to see how JavaScript allows you to really like get into the meat and potatoes and really like understand syntax. Dispatching value with a switch. So this is another way of doing um, loops. It's using something called switch. See, this is a function call. There's a construct called switch that is intended to express such a dispatch in a more direct way. Unfortunately, the syntax JavaScript uses for this, which is it inherited from C or Java line programming languages, is somewhat awkward. A chain of if statements may look better. Here's an example. Switch, prompt, what is the weather like? Case, rainy. Console.log, remember to bring an umbrella. So we're starting a loop, but we also have we're calling this function prompt, which will ask us what is the weather like today as a string. And then there's a case rainy. So for case rainy, it will remember to bring an umbrella, then you break out of it. So I think these are like objects, but let's read on. In case sunny, console.log dress slightly, break out of it. Case cloudy, this are what you could write. Go outside, break. Default, console.log unknown weather type, break. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think another way you can use to dispatch on a value is with switch. To dispatch on a value. This is another way you can dispatch on a value or create a loop using switch keyword. So the author of this book hasn't gone so deeply into how you can use switch. So I think this could be something that we might want to come back later on and just study a little bit more. So more is talked about capitalization, and I think here you are introduced the camel notation, and then you also introduced comments, and then so this is a comment. So summary, you know what a program is. You now know that a program is built out of statements which themselves sometimes contain more statements, and statements tend to contain expressions which themselves can be built out of smaller expressions. Putting statements after one another give you a program that is executed from top to bottom. You can introduce disturbances in the flow of control by using conditions if, else, switch, and looping, while, do, for. Okay, so bindings um, can be used to file pieces of data under a name, and they are useful for tracking state on your program. The environment is set up of bindings that are defined, so that we learned that JavaScript systems always put a number of useful standard bindings into an environment. Functions are special values that encapsulates a piece of a program, and you can invoke them by writing the name function name into bracket argument 1, argument 2. Such a function call is an expression that may produce a value. Exercises. So let's finally do an exercise. It's been so long. I was so like I wasn't able to do this. So, alright, looping a triangle. Write a loop that makes 7 calls to console log to output the following triangle. Alright, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's find out if I can actually do it. Alright. Let me go to my JS bin and clear everything. time. Time we've all been waiting for. How do you write how do you write a bunch of comments? I'm low key scared. It maybe is gonna command C, command V. Alright, so this is my coding challenge. Write a loop that makes 7 calls to the console to output the following. So what are some steps that I can initialize? Step 1 is, I think I need to define a variable triangle and give it a value of string hash. So now that I've defined that value, I can, so I need to make a for loop. Step 2, make a for loop that is less or equal to 7 triangles. Yes, okay. For every iteration, add 1. Step 3, print to the console the loop. So let's actually find out if that's how it's done. So I'm going to start for let triangle B be equal to, maybe I should choose the word triangle. Maybe I should use I. But whatever. Equal to string. Then let's close this. And then we can say, how can we say it? Triangle length. You can say triangle dot length is less than or equal to 7 triangle plus console.log I wish I hope I get it. And what? So let's think about what we've done. How about if I removed this dot length here? Oh, so something is not working. Clear. Let's think about it again. Write a loop that makes 7 calls to the console log. So this would be call 1, this would be call 2. So maybe what I want is to first of all define this loop. Maybe I need two definitions. Maybe I need to first define a triangle and then define a counter. So I think maybe step 2 would be step 2, define a counter and call it counter. Okay, so but every time it loops. So let's just delete this and try again. So let triangle be, we're going to define be this hash, and then let counter be, should we define 0? Oh no, not this. It's a so let's for, I have a feeling I'm gonna mess up, but there's no, this is why we're doing it. For, I must have seen a way that they did it. For and let me just keep going. For let counter less than 7, counter equals counter plus 1. What do I want to do? There's a way we learned, how can I say, triangle. So there's a way in here, in the while loop. It's a result equal to result times 2. So we can say triangle equals triangle plus 1 console.log triangle triangle. Okay, let's try. Okay, so let me change something here. Let me say triangle plus another string So my problem is so first of all, I don't have, I've failed 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. So I've doubled whatever I was doing. This is 1 2 3 4 7, 8. So this is 8. And how can I correct this? Let triangle be. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's say counter is less than 7. Clear, run. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've solved that one. What we haven't solved is okay, let me look for a hint. What's So you can start with a program that prints out the number 1 to 7, which you can derive by making a few modifications to the even number printing example given earlier in the chapter when the for loop was introduced. Now consider the equivalence between numbers and strings of hash characters. You can go from 1 to 2 by adding 1. You can go from hash to hash hash by adding plus or minus hash. Thus, your solution can closely follow the number printing program. And I think that's what I've done. However, my program doesn't start from 1, and I don't know why. Was I okay by defining a number and defining a counter? That is less. How can I remove? So so this program was printed script where m and count is 5. So A very interesting one. Can I? Okay, so I'll be back to debug this and do a bunch more loop exercises. Finally here.